Hey, you fitness buffs out there. I picked up this NordicTrack TRL625 recumbent bike, and the prior owner said they said it was working fine actually. But when I got the bike, the resistance was stuck on high, making it incredibly difficult to pedal. And so I decided to see what I could do to keep this out of the landfill. And this particular bike is the model number 831.29896. There's sort of a 0 implied after the 6 because there's also a .1 model which uses a completely different charging system for the electrical. So the plain .298.96.0 or just plain .29896 uses a generator flywheel here that's powered by foot pedal by the exerciser, and it goes to this module here which charges this battery pack, and it's this battery pack that's responsible for providing power to the display console as well as what they call the tension motor, which is back here. And so the first thing I did was disconnected all the electrical connections and then put battery power onto the tension motor. And you have to be very careful because if you rotate it the wrong direction, you're going to break your cable. You're going to break the tension cable, that little stainless steel cable in the back. My tension motor takes about a little more than 4 volts to operate. And this battery pack, when it was running the display console at the same time, could barely generate 4 volts to cause the tension motor to change. So I first determined that the tension motor was good by putting battery power on it. Again, disconnect everything you see plugged in here and there. Disconnect all the plugs so that you're not applying battery voltage backwards into any of these circuits, just for safety's sake. And then I used the battery to see if the tension motor was good. The tension motor was good. I think for most people what you're going to find on these bikes is that the battery pack has failed. So it's weak. I had 2 or 3 dead cells in my battery pack and said, gosh, what am I going to do about this? The control board is pretty expensive. I forget, 40 or 50 bucks before freight, if I remember correctly online. And so I decided to go search for a battery pack. And I found one on eBay for just under $6.50 delivered. And it is a 7.2 volt, 1800 milliamp hour. I think the original battery pack was 1300 milliamp hour. But the higher capacity won't hurt you. Nickel metal hydride. And it is comprised of 6 individual cells. And the only thing tricky about it, or unique about it, is that gray wire you see coming in on the end. What that is, and it's attached to the control board. I'm going to have difficulty focusing that, but what that is a temperature sensing circuit. So it's just a little thermistor on the end of it, or a temperature sensor of some sort, that goes down between 4 of the 6 battery cells. It just sits in there loose, and it's there for temperature reasons because batteries don't like to overheat or be overcharged and overheat. So apparently that keeps those batteries from overcharging in the event that they are over temperature. Pretty straightforward. I'm gonna clip another video onto here to show you what the battery pack looks like. But I simply changed the battery pack, and now I have enough voltage to drive the tension motor in the clockwise and counterclockwise direction, which increases and decreases resistance. And it's that tension motor that controls the air gap between the black wheel and the magnets. And it's that air gap right in there. It's that air gap that the smaller the air gap, the harder it is to pedal. The wider the air gap, the easier it is to pedal. So chances are this battery pack, it was pretty old. As I said, it had 2 or 3 dead cells in it. And the other thing is that you got to make sure you pedal fast enough. I think it said 30 RPM is the minimum speed. 30 revolutions per minute is the minimum speed before you're going to get everything sort of where it wants to be from a charging standpoint. So the instructions clearly say to change the pedal resistance, make sure the pace is about 30 RPM or faster for the resistance buttons to operate. On my unit, I found that even above 30 RPM, I could still not get the resistance to change. But even at higher than 30 RPM, I still could not get enough voltage out of this battery pack to control the tension motor. And again, once I determined the tension motor was good, I went ahead and replaced the battery pack. The caveat here is if you don't know what you're doing with batteries, if you don't know how to solder, then be careful, because batteries, when they're shorted or overcharged or installed improperly, will explode and can hurt you. So I take no responsibility for for anything that might happen to you in the event that you do not know what you're doing. If you don't know how to solder, if you don't understand battery technology, if you are not careful about keeping things from shorting, please do not attempt to do this. Okay? But anyway, give me a like if you would, if this helps you any. It's actually a pretty nice bike. I think this bike was $600 or $700 new, and it's as good as new now.